A while ago I made a video about the steepest street in England, but now I'm on the steepest street in the world. Although it depends who you ask, because some people say it's this street in Harlech, West Wales, part of Snowdonia, and other people say it's Baldwin Street in New Zealand. More on that one later. My first job is just to convey how steep this street is, because I know cameras can flatten out the hill. This is the beginning of the street, and right up there where those houses are, that's the top of the street, and the road is not long. I've set the tripod up on one of the steepest parts of the hill so you can see how much longer the rear legs are compared to the front leg to prevent the tripod from falling over and rolling down the hill. The rear legs are more or less fully open, whereas the front leg has a section which isn't even open at all, and this section is only partly open. Here is another particularly steep section of the street, and this is a bottle of water. And now I've got to go and fetch that. I've only been walking up the hill for about a minute, yet look how high I am, and there's not much further to go. It's not a long hill, or should I call it more of a ladder. I did get the bottle back, I promise. Here it is, with scratches to prove it. The street is called Ffordd Pen Llech if you use the English alphabet, but it is Welsh. If you try to pronounce it in Welsh, I'm not very good at this, Ffordd Pen Llech. I think it's something like that. Please don't mock me if I've got it wrong. If I translate the words to English, it means road, top, flat rock. They're the three words. So road to the top of the flat rock, I guess. And on the 15th of July 2019, the Guinness Book of World Records awarded this street in Wales as the steepest street in the world. That title was previously held by Baldwin Street in New Zealand. And when this happened, there are many people that said, no, you can't name that street the steepest street in the world. Yeah, sure, a bit on the edge happens to be a bit steeper than Baldwin Street in New Zealand, but overall, Baldwin Street is far steeper. And after much consideration, the Guinness Book of World Records decided that you should measure the street from the centre, not from the edges. And when you measure it from the centre, Ffordd Pen Llech is 28.6%, and Baldwin Street in New Zealand is 34.8%, and therefore Baldwin Street now gets the title of steepest street in the world, and they gave that title back to Baldwin Street on the 8th of April 2020. But whether you measure it from the centre of the street or the edge of the street, well, I guess that's up to you. So if you want, you could still call this street the steepest street in the world, or at least a part of it is. The steepest part of this street is 37.45%. Now the sign does say 40%, but that's because they round up the signs. What does that percentage mean though? Well, it's quite simple. If it was 100%, that would mean for every metre you go forwards, you'd go up or down by 1 metre. If it was 50%, that means for every metre you go forwards, you go up or down half a metre. 50%, half of the forward travel up or down. 37.45% means for every metre you go forwards, you go up or down 0.3745 metres, or just over a third of a metre change in elevation for every metre you go forwards. Now, I said earlier it was a ladder. That's not quite a ladder, but it is a staircase, and on a section of that road, stairs do feel more appropriate, at least if you're walking. So in Harlech, as you can see, it's quite a tight space, and situations like this are common. Just about squeezing through there, the Range Rover. If the Range Rover couldn't squeeze through there, we'd all be stuck. So I'm about to drive down the steepest street in the world, or what was the steepest street in the world. It's the one ahead of me, and it doesn't look that steep. this bit isn't really that steep. It gets a lot steeper, and on camera it's going to look even less steep. So I'm in first gear now, off the gas and off the clutch, and having to brake now because it was starting to accelerate a bit there. I'm off the brake now in first gear. Now first gear is keeping me slow here. It's getting steeper, the car's speeding up. Is it coming across on camera how steep this is? I've got to brake because no, first gear is not giving me enough engine braking, and it's really narrow. I can't drive up it because the steepest part is one way. And it makes sense. One, because it's single track, and two, the fact you can only go down it, well, that makes sense because it's down a steep hill. Now I'm getting to the steepest part. Does that come across on camera? Just how far down there you can see, down towards that red Fiesta? You probably can't even see it. It's like a cliff almost. Now come off the clutch gradually. There we go. Any engine braking? Yes, but it's making no difference. Oh, whoa. No, I need a brake. Now this, I believe, is the steepest bit. I'm going to stop the car and I'm going to put the handbrake on. See if it holds. So off the clutch, off the foot brake. Ooh, it is holding. I've pulled it up quite hard. Good handbrake. If I put it up how I would normally put it up, normally I put it to about there. Nope. No, I do have to give some muscle into it and then it does hold. But yeah, the handbrake does hold the car on the steepest part. But it's so steep that I can't see down there. I can't actually see where I'm going to go down the hill. So I have to sort of, yep, come off the brake more gently, Richard. This is a very steep hill. Now I can actually see where I'm going. But overall, this is not hard. Vale Street in Bristol is far more challenging, especially as you're only allowed down this hill and not up the hill. But even if you were allowed up it, I don't think it's as challenging as Vale Street. The reason why I think Vale Street in Bristol is more challenging than this street, by the way, Vale Street is the steepest street in England, not the world. The reason why I think that street is more challenging is because of how quickly it goes uphill and that it's two-way. It goes uphill suddenly. It's not as steep, but the change is sudden. And if you're approaching it head on, it's very easy to damage the front underneath of your car, or if you're coming down the hill, the rear underneath of your car. And when I did it, it set the parking sensors at the front of my car off because the car thought there's a wall in front, you're going to hit a wall, beep, 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 beep. So what I had to do was approach it at an angle to reduce how steep the hill was. But what I also did, just for an experiment, is I stopped on the most challenging part of the hill, the steepest part of the hill, to see if I could get going again in a front wheel drive car with no limited slip differential manual. Now usually when you're driving a manual, if you don't give enough gas, you stall. Or if you give too much gas and lift the clutch up too high, you wheel spin. And there's usually a very big window where you're not going to stall and you're not going to wheel spin, and that's just normal driving. On that hill though, there really wasn't that window. It was like, not enough power, you've stalled. Okay, give more power. Still not enough power, you've stalled. Okay, give even more power. Oh, that's enough power not to stall, but there's not enough traction between the tyres and the road. So the tyres started slipping as I was trying to go up that hill. I did make it up the hill, but not without a bit of wheel spin. I'll leave a link to that video up there. What I do think is more challenging is the way up. 25% on the sign. I'm not sure how to say the name of this road, so I'll write it on screen. But this is two-way, and it's still very steep with sharp bends. So at the moment it's okay, but now it's not because this happens. So this is a far more challenging scenario. So now I have to reverse to a passing place. Well, they're reversing. Okay, well, they're going to. I will take the offer. Thank you. But the sharp bends make it very hard because the inside is incredibly steep. First gear, car is handling it fine. but this is more challenging than going down the steepest street in the world. This is like a hairpin here. I'm staying on the outside to leave the door open for people to come down. Not that there was anyone, but I didn't know that, of course, until I got here. And then I have another hairpin to the left where I kind of need both sides of the road, and I had to dip and ride the clutch there because I would have gone just a bit too fast for my liking, considering my view. I needed to slow down just in case someone was coming down the hill. So up the hill into second. Yep, it's all right. And yeah, up to the castle. Now I've finished. Well, I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're looking for car insurance, check out the links to Collingwood and Confused in the description. If you're learning to drive and want to insure yourself on somebody else's car, then Collingwood are there for you, because you can do so without affecting the owner's policy. So that takes away a big stress from the owner of the car that you're using to practice your driving in. And via the link at the moment, it's up to 35% off and a £20 gift card. If you want to insure your own car, I recommend checking out the link to confused.com, because you fill out one quote form and get loads of quotes back from many insurers to compare who's cheapest. And you can change your car on that quote as many times as you like without having to do the whole quote again. So just fill out the quote once and change the car to compare the price to insure them. Useful if you're shopping around for cars and want to know how much it costs to insure them. Using the links doesn't cost you anything, but it does support the channel, so thank you very much. Subscribe to get my future videos, and until the next one, cheerio.